Colbyjack.net is proud to present From the Flames by Trisha M. Wilson. The people of the fire, the Blesa, led by their queens, have ruled the island of Alfeyju and oppressed the Driva, the people of the ice, for more than 16 generations. With the Drivian King in hiding and little hope on the horizon, the Driva looked to one person to save them from the vile Blesa, the Diviana. According to legend, the divinely gifted Diviana will one day overthrow the Blesa and restore the Drivian King to his rightful throne. But with the search having lasted for more than 400 years, will the Diviana ever come to light? Willow is the slave of the Raskpil family. Bought at the age of 4, 20 years have passed since her life irrevocably changed. Her existence is no worse than any other slave, but within, Willow wonders if there isn't something more she should be doing with her life other than serving the ungrateful. Ordered to travel with her master's family to Sondertoft, so her master's adult children can take part in an ancient rite of passage, Willow is shocked when she learns that she too must participate. Will she fail, as all before her have? Will she rise to the challenge and become stronger after passing through the flames? From the Flames, Episode 16, Chapter 8, The First Lesson. Walking down the staircase with Val the next morning, she found Hawk waiting for her at the bottom. He graced her with a beaming smile, a welcome sight, for her stomach felt as if it had butterflies flying around inside it. "You look very refreshed this morning, Willow," Hawk commented. "I slept like the dead," Willow admitted, feeling in high spirits despite her nervousness. "And how is Master Val this fine morning?" "I'm fine, you little smart-mouth master indeed. One of these days I'm going to—" "He slept fine," Willow said, cutting off Val's tirade. "However, if you don't want him to kill you in your sleep, I suggest you stop with the master." "I know I should, but it's so fun to tease one as old as him," Hawk said, guiding her into the dining room. The first thing to draw Willow's eyes was the huge crystal chandelier which hung above the room, dominating the dining room table. Thousands of tiny crystals hung and swayed gently, looking like delicate icicles. As Willow got closer to the chandelier, she saw tiny runes carved into the different crystals. It must have taken years to carve each crystal, Willow thought. A ray of sunshine hit Willow's eyes, drawing her attention. Following the ray, she found herself staring at a beautiful stained glass window depicting beasts of every shape and size coexisting in peace and harmony. The detail put into the animals made them so lifelike that she expected them to pounce and leap from the window at any moment. When she finished studying the animals, Willow followed the rays of light which shone through the stained glass onto the very long, rectangular, deep reddish-brown table laden with plates, silverware, and food. While there were only 3 place settings out, the table could have easily held 10 or 12 people comfortably. Double that if more chairs were brought in and people were really squeezed together. Like Astrid's throne, the legs and edges of the table were highly carved. The top, however, was as smooth as a butter round. It was so smooth, in fact, that the light shining through the window fell onto the table, creating an almost perfect reflection. That wouldn't have been possible if the table had flaws common in the sorts of tables Willow was familiar with. Covering the rest of the table were dishes of all manner and size, laden with more food than Willow had ever seen in one place. Everything she saw and smelled looked better than the item before it. The dishes the food sat in were very plain-looking, a huge contrast to the opulence of the room, not to mention the rest of the house beyond. They were made of white clay with a hint of light blue swirling around the edges. To anyone looking, the design looked deceptively simple. Willow knew, however, that any design on plates and dishes were never simple. A traveling salesman had come through Christhaller about 4 or 5 years ago, and Mistress Brigida had been one of the first people to look at his wares. She'd found a beautiful brown clay vase with 2 tiny flowers painted on it. It was far superior to anything she had in her home, and she'd been eager to display it, already picturing the exact location it would go. When she'd found out how much the salesman wanted for it, she became incensed. She had yelled and screamed that such a small design shouldn't have cost so much. She shrieked that he was trying to extort money from her. She shouted that nobody would take advantage of her, and that the gods should strike the salesman down where he stood for his actions. She had failed to listen to the salesman explain how the process involved rare plant dyes and skilled artisans. She neglected to hear how painting anything on the clay pot changed the pot, making it fragile and easily broken when it was refired. She refused to listen at how only 1 in every 10 pots survived the refiring stage, making the miraculous vase in her hand a gift from the gods. Her anger wouldn't listen to reason, and she left the salesman without buying anything, ranting all the way home about the man and his horrible attempt to rip her off. It wasn't until a few days later that Willow heard that another person from the village, a friend of Mistress Brigida's, had bought the very same vase for what the man had asked. She had known quality when she had seen it. She had known that the salesman had been asking a fair price. She had known that by buying the vase, it would make Mistress Brigida insane with jealousy and envy. And it had. Not a visit had passed that Mistress Brigida hadn't come back furious that she had been cheated out of her vase. As Willow got closer to the table, she noticed that not only was the china delicately designed, it was also flawless in execution. Mistress Brigida had constantly complained of how few dishes were made without even the tiniest of flaws and cracks, and the ones that did were overpriced, and according to Mistress Brigida, not worth their weight in bronze. So it was amazing to Willow that every piece of china Astrid had was without flaws. How had she accomplished such a feat? Hawk walked past Willow and pulled out the chair on the right side of Astrid, who was eating her breakfast at the head of the table. Willow didn't move. Did he really mean that she should sit at the table with Astrid? Isn't the seat at the right of her hostess for only the most honored guests? He couldn't mean for her to take that position. But he did mean for her to sit to the right of Astrid, for he nodded his head, indicating that she should take the seat he stood behind. Willow made her feet move toward him, humbled that he'd given her such an honor. As she slid into the chair, which was the exact same color as the table, she realized that it was not engraved as the table was. They were very simple chairs, but well crafted as everything else Willow had seen. Gripping the ends of the chair's arms, she at once realized she was wrong about the lack of engravings. Instead of being engraved on the feet or the back of the chair, however, it was engraved at the end of each arm in the shape of a large cat head. Willow was sure it wasn't a bobcat or lynx head. If it had been, the ears would have been larger or pointed, perhaps even tufted with thick hair to protect them from the brutal winters the north received. These heads had smaller ears, more in line with the paintings she'd seen of leopards, panthers, and jaguars. Whatever the animal, its face was powerful and majestic. Every line in its face intriguing, telling its life story as surely as if it were a living, breathing animal. Overwhelmed by the richness of the room and the bountiful feast before her, Willow's mind returned to the conversation on the stairs. Hawk had been teasing Val, calling him master, knowing he'd never know Val's true response. "How can you tease someone you can't hear?" Hawk took the seat opposite Willow on Astrid's left side. "It's not easy. But from the little you've told me of him, I can guess what might make him a little annoyed. That, with his responses and the look you sometimes get in your eyes when he speaks to you, is enough to go on." "One day you might be able to speak to Valdis," Astrid said from her seat at the head of the table. "What?" Willow and Val cried at the same time. Putting down the bite of food she had just been about to eat, Willow waited for Astrid's response. "In the ancient books, it says that one very loyal and close to the Diviana may be given the chance to hear the Great Spirit within the sacred staff. That person would have a quest of their own which they must complete. But if they are successful, they will be able to hear and communicate directly to the staff, as only the Diviana can." "But?" Willow said, but she was cut off. "We have more important things to talk about than talking staves and their attitudes. We will start after you have finished eating," Astrid said. Getting to her feet, she continued. Meet me in the study after you are done, alone. Much must be discussed and passed on, and time is short. Time is short? Willow asked as she started to eat again after Astrid passed from the room. How can time be short when I just found Val? It's not like I've been traipsing around Alfeyju for years searching for the sacred objects and been unsuccessful. I know you haven't, but you will learn that Mistress Astrid is always saying things like that. Sometimes I think she likes to be cryptic because it gets people's attention, Hawk said. Well, she certainly has my attention now, Willow said thoughtfully. This work is released under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Do what you want with it. Remix it, re-record it, transcribe it, share it. Just don't sell it or change the terms of the license. Your creation must be released under an Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.